All right. We are now live, awesome, for a special edition of Conversations with Cougars. And I know you guys recognize this gentleman I have as my guest, Aristotle Kirkland, A-OK. How you doing, bud?
Hey, Bernard, man, it is absolutely wonderful to be on here. I've, watched so many of the interviews you've done so far. I mean, not only in this group, in the Vandy group, it is an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be here with you, talking with you today, man. It's been so long since you and I have, caught up anyway, but this has been great, man. Seeing all of the interviews and catching up with everyone, so many of the stories people you've had on already, the Dewey Blands, the Bruce Johnson, Coach Henry, Mike Henry, my friend. Who else? Lawrence Dawsey. Just so many people. Coach Cleveland. Man, yeah, it's quite a bunch, and so you can hardly keep up. A lot of times I have to go back and look at those things because sometimes I'm not really available. But I'm going to start doing better on getting on live and at least saying hello to people.
Well, we appreciate any time you jump on when we're doing these. And I'm just so glad to have some time with you tonight. And guys, we're talking with Big Cat, Aristotle Kirkland, A-OK. And for those of you who don't know, Aristotle was the class of 87. He was a junior when we won the state title in 85. And of course, we're going to get to that game in a little bit. But before we head there, Aristotle, tell us about, catch us up. What's new in your world? What do you do for a living? Where you living? Those kind of good things.
Hey, well, look, man, I'm back in Dothan, Alabama, where I grew up. Been back here since since 2017. My mom and dad both got sick. Really, I came back home to take care of them. But I'm back in Dothan now. They're now passed away. But hey, I'm back here. I'm a physical therapist, actually, man. After college and all that stuff, went back to school, got my doctorate degree in physical therapy. So before all of this pandemic and stuff hit, I was doing contract work actually with Old Dark City Schools, where Mike is now coaching, but had the contract there, just dealing with kids. But I'm an outpatient therapist, so everything that's going on now kind of shut down clinics and things of that nature. So I am currently now, Bernard, and this is going to be great, working on what I'm calling a concierge PT service. And so anybody that has any type of injury, but more so probably going to focus on post-surgical injuries, whether it be knee scopes, shoulders, back pain, anything like that, where I come to the house, everything that's going on. So it'll be like outpatient physical therapy practice, but at your home. So now, going to take off right. You won't have to come and sit at anybody's office for 30 minutes before you get treated or anything like that. So I'm, in the process right now of putting that business together for myself. I think it's going to be just, incredible, and I'll let everybody know when that gets up and running.
Well, very good, Aristotle. That sounds like a real niche in the market that is needed, because I know a lot of people post surgery, or even not post surgery, but need rehab, probably don't need to be in settings with a lot of people or in a clinic setting.
Right.
And not to get too deep into this, but you come to their house and do the rehab,
Yes.
either inside the house or in a carport or something.
This is what I say, but no, you think about it. I had a private practice for a very long time. I opened up a private practice in 2004, 5. I stayed in private practice until about 2000 and, 10, 12, 14 years. And, most of that people come into the clinic. But you think about this, if you have an injury or if you have to have surgery or anything like that, where's the best place to get rehab? Really, it's in your home. And I say that because the things that you can't do, say for instance, reach in your cabinet, go up and down your stairs, okay, wash your clothes, get it in and out of the bathtub. So those kind of things that we always try to quote unquote make appear happen in the clinic, now you get that one-on-one with a therapist who knows what you need and to get you back where you want to get to. And so I think it's going to take less time. I get to see exactly what you can and can't do. You let me know where you want to be, how soon you want to be there, and I'll get you there. And so, man, it's going to be great. And you're right. It's about thinking about, what can change in this day and time and what can get people better. And so, yep, inside to take place inside the home. Hey, guess what? If you had a job that you had to go up and downstairs or whatever, guess what? We'll make that happen too.
Oh, Aristotle, that's new for most of us. That's new age stuff. That's awesome, and I wish you continued success with that. But
Thank you.
let's kind of pivot a little bit. Tell us about your beautiful family, and then we're gonna take it back to the honeysuckle days in a minute.
Well, right now too, I'll tell you, man, not married, but man, have a lovely 4-year-old. Have 2 boys, 2 girls, 1 granddaughter. So man, they're great. But now I'll go back to childhood and growing up. Actually grew up on Alabama Avenue. So we're talking about Johnson Home, Alabama Avenue, Florida Avenue, Maharis Circle. So I grew up, the older guys that were around me were the Cassie Butlers, Sammy Floyd, Butch Henderson lived across the street. So all of those older guys grew up in my neighborhood, right? And then Maharis Circle, we had those guys. Mike Henry lived up there, Tony Thompson. Cassie Butler was my neighbor in the back. Just Bernard, when I tell you I grew up with all these people that a lot of them you've interviewed already, but man, it was a host of people where I grew up.
That's some serious athletic talent just in the neighborhood alone. I can only imagine y'all's basketball, baseball, and football games in the neighborhood. Those must have been some awesome competition.
Man, I'm telling you, it used to be crazy because, we were the younger guys then, Bush them, they were the older guys, but you're right. When I tell you competition, it just kept coming, but it was the older brothers and then the younger brothers that was just always around. So it was incredible growing up with those guys, man. And we always had such fun, back then, playing together. Like you say, in the neighborhood games, and
not just laying on the couch and watching TV and playing games.
Listen, we didn't have all of those video games back then. Maybe what was it, Atari or I don't even know the names of them then. But no, your parents made you get out of the house and go play. But then you had to be in the house before the street light came on. So
That's right. And Aristotle, you made your mark. What you're known for from an athletic standpoint, ultimately was football, of course. But I know you to be a multi-sport athlete. And before you really concentrated on football, what other sports had your attention and where did you play growing up?
Well, I'll tell you this. I went to, let me see, Stringer Street for 2 schools for elementary, Stringer Street and then Wilson Street. And I'll say this, Bernard, man, like the Charles Bunton, Dewey Bland, Gina Grant, Carla Henry, like we all knew each other from an early age coming up. The Sonia Baxter, Sonia White, some people that didn't play ball, but all of those people, I knew. But I really started playing football in middle school at Honeysuckle. But I also played basketball and I also ran track. But I ran track and played basketball because I was really trying to condition to be a better football player. And I'm just going to be honest, I wasn't the best athlete at any of those sports, but I worked hard. And so around the right people, the right friends, and other great athletes that pushed me, even at a young age, from the Honeysuckle going on up to high school, so I wasn't the greatest athlete. I probably was a better, we were all student athletes. I probably was a better student.
That's what I was getting ready to talk about, Aristotle. You've always been very conscientious of your books, and you've always made your marks. Did you, let me put it this way, was that some God's gifts, or was it taught in the home, or where did you get your love of learning from?
Yep, you know what, taught in the home. I think my parents, to be honest, my dad didn't have a high education and my mom didn't either. So, us coming along, they stressed that, books, reading, and taking care of the lesson first before you can even go outside. And so, from an early age, elementary school, my mom always said, you're going to do your work and get your grades before you do anything else. And so it was pushed in the home by my parents.
Well, clearly they must have seen something by naming you Aristotle. What's
Right.
the origin? If you know, what's the origin of your name?
Aristotle Onassis, as a matter of fact. And but no, I was born here, and 69 the year. And so the big thing was Aristotle Onassis, Greek tycoon, and my mother loved that name. And everybody said that she said, well, he's going to be a special one and do some things. And so she named me Aristotle Onassis, and the last name is Kirkland, but she heard about so that's a-okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Aristotle, let me pause for a second and tell you who we've got here sharing some love with you tonight.
Right.
Steve Stutz, Ethan Reeves, Cece Dixon says to say hello to you.
All right.
Cindy Merrill is on with us so far.
Right.
So,
man, great names, man. CC, Cindy, man. Those are my friends from way back.
Right. Well, that's guys, we're catching up with Big Cat, with Aristotle Onassis Kirkland, and we're hitting the honeysuckle days with Coach Campbell and
Yes.
Dewey Bland and a whole bunch of other folks who eventually came over from Honeysuckle over to Northview. Back then, it was, at least in the mid 80s, or so, the Honeysuckle and Girard predominantly fed into Northview, and Carver and
Beverly,
thank you.
yes,
Fed into Dothan High. Not always, but
right.
predominantly that's the way it was.
Right.
When did you first meet Coach Parrish or any of the coaches? I know that your neighbors, like Cassie was already over there.
Right.
Sammy, those guys. But
Right.
when did you first meet the coaches and have an idea that you were going to come over to Northview and play sports at Northview?
Wow, Bernard, that's a great question. And where did I think after our 8th grade year, I think somehow we ended up going to a game in the middle school, to a high school game. I think they would always take the middle schoolers over to a high school game.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you're in middle school, you see those guys, the Doug Jones at that time, Woo Woo Parker.
I was just getting ready to say Leo Butler.
Yes.
Really big time athletes.
Yeah, and on that Dothan High style, they had Spanky Thomas. So we would go to that game, and man, it was incredible. So it really wasn't a meeting Coach Parrish at the time. It was more of him, he looked great and mighty, talking to us. Hey, next year you guys are coming over here, get ready for the big league. You see what we're doing. And so I don't think I met Coach Parrish really met him and talked to him until my 10th grade year. Coach Campbell, we met Coach Cleveland. Coach Tribune was over was going to be at the 9th grade when we moved over there. So I think it was going to to answer your question, going to a game where I, ended up meeting the coaches.
Well, Aristotle, what was it about the sport of football that made you like the sport? Why did you want to play football?
Well, you know what? I think I was more of a competitor in everything, whether it be grades or sports, even though I wasn't the greatest athlete. So I think it just was me being a competitor that made me play all the sports. Like I say, played basketball, played football, ran track. Actually did the high jump in track. Tried to run a 400. Mark Reeves and I high jumped together in high school. So ran a little track even at Northview. People didn't know that because, of the football. But I think it was just, being a competitor. And you know what, Bernard? No, all of my friends played sports. And so everybody I grew up with played sports. And so it was just kind of in the blood, in the community that, you played sports or got ran over, I believe.
Well, you transition, we all do, out of middle school to the high school. And you're now playing big boy sports.
Yes.
Particularly football. But how did you figure out the balance of keeping your schoolwork up and doing well in school and still being able to do what you needed to football wise?
Right. You know what, Bernard? In school, I kept great notes, just to be honest. The teachers would talk and my notebooks were full. And just to be honest, I kind of had a photographic memory, I think, in high school. So when I would write notes and things of that nature, when I would get home from playing and all that, I would read over my notes. So I think it was, for me, it was daily, so that when it came time to test or anything like that, I wouldn't have to study much. I would already be studying throughout the day, every day. I would read a little something of my notes every day. And so I think that made it easier.
So what you're saying is you actually paid attention in class.
I actually paid attention in class because my friends used to ask me, how do you come out here and do everything we do and you got these grades? But I paid attention in class, absolutely.
And so that, wait, I'm gonna make sure I get this right. That pays off?
That that kind of stuff pays off, man. And sometimes we forget, and I'll talk about that later. The things that got us to where we were, sometimes we stop and we forget. But those kind of things, when your parents teach you that, it pays. I mean, if you do something every day, not all day every day, but if you do a little bit every day, it'll pay off in the end.
We're going to come back to that in a minute. Yeah. But Aristotle, we got some more classmates have just joined in.
All right.
Ross Morris says, A-OK.
Ross, my dude Ross.
Angela Thornton has just joined us.
Oh, wow.
So thank you, guys. We're talking with Aristotle.
Yeah, Angela and Ross, man, love those guys. Angela was a cheerleader back in the day.
Aristotle's kind of sharing a little bit of his secrets on how he kept up with his schoolwork and was still able to do what he needed to from a football and athletics standpoint. Yeah. Well, Aristotle, in ninth grade, what position was coaches Cleveland and Tribune? Where were they having you play?
You know what, Bernard, that's funny in how things change, because I was thinking, let me see, I'm thinking about that now. I think I played a little defensive back in the ninth grade, but guess what? I think I played a little tight end too.
Wow.
That's funny now. I think I even caught a touchdown, a little jump pass touchdown in the ninth grade or something.
Well, we're going to have to get Reggie Pearson on here sometime, and we need some confirmation that A-OK playing offense.
I think I did play a little tiny down in the Dust Bowl in the ninth grade. That was
how terrible was that Dust Bowl in ninth grade?
That was horrible. I think it's probably illegal today to put the kids down in that bowl.
And what was it? Do you remember as a ninth grader looking up on the main field with the varsity and JV? What was? I know every ninth grader sees that and says, "Oh, one day I'm gonna be up there."
Yes.
What was your impressions?
But you know what, to be honest, I think that's why, I mean, back in those days that looking up at the big kids playing, I think that's what excited us about one day we're going to be there. We're going to work hard. I think, we had to, if you made it from down there, up there, you knew you had worked hard enough to go from the Dust Bowl to the top of the mountain, really. And so, I mean, those were the expectations, to get up there and make a difference, and be with those guys and get up there and make a difference.
That's so true. That's so true. And Aristotle, I want to be mindful of your time, so let's kind of keep moving along.
Okay, we will.
When did you first start seeing any varsity action for the Cougars?
Man, let me see. 10th grade, I think I remember, let me tell you who was up there. Butch Henderson, Reggie Thompson. Man, they had beasts in cornerback back then. Playing.
Mark
Yeah.
Reed.
Yep. And so I think someone in my 10th grade, it was late in the season, and I'm not quite sure, Bernard, but my 10th grade year, we had Tim Rose. It was a lot of DBs over there.
Yeah.
We got up to the 10th grade.
Shane Wood, one of my buddies.
Oh man, Shane Wood, Robbie Arnold. Shane was a tough dude, man. Shane and I still see each other. I'll tell you about that. But I think someone got hurt in a game on a Friday night game when I was in the 10th grade. And I believe it was myself, maybe Tim or somebody. We were standing, you know how you standing by wanting to get in the game? And so I think, I don't know who got hurt. But anyway, I think it was Tim. God bless the dead. Tim is gone. But he and I both were standing by Coach Griffin. And Coach Griffin grabbed me and threw me in the game. And I think I was only in there for about 2 plays. But on the second play, I think I made a pretty good play. And so that actually allowed me to see, okay, I can do this. That was the first thing, that I can do this. And so I don't know if I played anymore. that 10th grade year at all. But I think that was my first action in the 10th grade. But that let me know that I could do it.
That's awesome. It gave you a little confidence, I'm
And a
sure.
little confidence, absolutely. Yes. Yep.
Well, speaking of confidence, we go into your junior year, my senior year. What was it like guarding the Chris Holmes and the David Hogans of the world in practice every day?
Listen, Bernard, when I tell you, man, that was, let me tell you, that those teams and that team with the speed they had, I think on both sides of the ball, that no matter what opponent that we played, we figured we had already played the best. Chris Holmes had these great hands. You're talking about Lawrence Dawson, David Hogan with his great speed. I mean, you were throwing to some great guys, but I'm telling you, we thought we had already faced the best when we got into a game with anybody else. So, it wasn't nothing that we couldn't do.
Well, as it's well documented what kind of a season we had my senior year, our championship year. But I want to hear from your perspective as a junior. You're playing a lot, you're starting some, I think. I know you're getting in a lot of time, and we have a roller coaster of a season. We start out with the injury to Lawrence, and we lose 3 of the first 4.
Right.
Then we get on a tear where offense finds its footing. Defense was always solid, always solid.
Listen, I worked, man, we tell you, we worked really hard from that 10th grade to my junior year. So, yeah, I went into the year starting, actually, because we had worked so hard. And I'll tell you, man, the DBs over there, talking about Derek Flowers, Mark Reeves, Tim Reynolds, Mike Henry, and then, Cassie Butler, Willie Banks, Ross on the line, Lonnie Mathis. I mean, we were loaded on that side. And so, what's the question you asked me? But
just, we go into the season, and the offense was not clicking in the first part of the year, but the defense was always clicking.
Oh, let me tell you what happened.
Saved our bacon so many times.
So I'll say defense wise, from a coach like Coach Cleveland, who was intense, to, I don't know if you remember this, Bernard, my junior year, here comes Coach Randy Ragsdale. He was a beast. So it went from, I say, not necessarily crazy to crazy, or just intensity, intensity. And so Ragsdale just had this on the defensive side of the ball. This is what we said: we're gonna not let people score 14 points a game. If we can do that, I mean, that was really the attitude of the defense. And I mean, everybody took that attitude on. Coach Ragsdale came from the college ranks, and that's the attitude that he brought to this defense. And so that was our attitude, to not let people score many points.
And our losses were all by 7 points or less. We didn't get blown out by anybody. But I've always wanted to know from y'all's perspective, y'all pulled your weight the whole year. The offense was slow to come. It was a new offense. Was there ever any resentment, ever any frustration by the defense as a whole with the offense? Because we just weren't putting up the points.
You know what? I don't think that was ever any frustration and I say this, that we were worried about the defensive side of the ball. If there were any frustration, it wasn't by any of, the players, none of the, the players on the defensive side, because all we wanted to do is keep them out of the end zone, because this is what we really do. If we kept people out of the end zone, that eventually you guys were gonna score. We had too much firepower. So I don't think we ever got disgruntled or anything like that. And if we lost the game, we know, hey, look, we'll get them next time, because at some point we knew that if we kept them out of the end zone, you guys were going to score without question.
Well, it's comforting to hear, Aristotle. I never heard it from any of the players. I certainly heard it from coaches Parrish and Andrews when I wasn't doing what I needed to do. But I always was just curious. But Aristotle, we got some folks in here. Harry Stanley has joined us.
Oh, wow.
Coach Randy Hicks and David Fields. So thank you, guys.
Good. Coach Hicks and Harry, man, great guys. Coach Hicks coached too. That was our JV coach. And what I remember back then, but no, we played Dothan High twice, Enterprise twice, Ozark twice. Like, we didn't have, I'm talking in JV football. Those are the teams that we played, man. So we were ready on Monday. So, but man, that defense, like I said, we were just trying to keep people out of the end zone. And I did do this research. I'm gonna tell you, that 85 team, and really our senior year, I mean, we held opponents to the average for the season I think it was like 12 and a half or 12.9 a game or something like that, man.
It wasn't quite as stingy as the 81 team that
Right.
was such an awesome display, but it was pretty close. But Aristotle, let's kind of fast forward into the playoffs.
Okay.
Of course, we win the opening game at Opelika.
Yep.
We then beat Phoenix City at home.
Yep.
Lawrence saves my bacon in the rain or the mud against Fairhope at home. Clark then kicks the field goal in overtime. Then the big game against Robert E. Lee with the big comeback.
Yes.
But now we're into championship week in Birmingham.
Uh-huh.
You remember coming up on the bus that Tuesday for the practice?
Yes, man. Let me tell you, I think after we came back against that Robert E. Lee game, I think we thought we could do anything. You know, we had played Robert E. Lee earlier that season and they beat us, and so that comeback was incredible. I mean, you guys lit up the scoreboard at that fourth quarter, and you know we kept them from scoring again. But I think that game convinced us that we could beat anybody. Think about it. Well, we had played 4 or 5 overtime games.
Four by that point, yeah.
Right, and so I think we always thought that we can win. That there was no quitting until the end, and so that Tuesday we were so excited, man. After that game, but that Tuesday we went up to Legion Field. I can remember, you know, Mike, just a lot of the defensive guys, we walk onto that field, onto Legion Field, and it looks just huge, you know, when you're walking on the field. So I think that was a great move by the coaches to get us up there early so that we can get a feel for, you know, where we're going to be playing, what size stadium it is, to get a little walk through, feel the turf, because, you know, it wasn't grass, it was turf. And so, but I think they prepared us well going up that Tuesday. It was incredible.
It was kind of like our Hoosiers moment.
Yeah.
Remember in Hoosiers where they go and they put the tape up in the big gym? They're playing the state championship in the huge gym, and I think in Indianapolis.
Right.
And the coach says, "Look, the goal is still 10 feet." Just
that's
like
right. Right. The field is still 100 yards. Right. Exactly. Yes.
Well, going into the Huffman game, they had just beaten the number 2 team in the country, J.O. Johnson out of Huntsville.
Yes. Let me tell you, Bedard. I mean, the whole defense, man. I'm telling you that year we were just all fired up. But I think we had the best secondary. Actually, for 2 years, I think we had the best secondary in the state. That's just me talking, but I do think that way. Interception we had.
Time again, you guys proved us right. But Aristotle, they featured an all-world tight end.
Yes.
Who ended up going to Alabama and being a kicker. They had some outstanding talent on both sides of the field.
Right.
But we had already been through so much that year.
Yes. And we were students of the game. We watched film, the defense and offense on those people. And so, again, we didn't think it was anybody we couldn't cover or defend and that you guys couldn't score on.
But then we go down 7-0.
Yes.
To start the game, you know, they take it down and they score about a 40-yard run.
Yes.
And so it's still in the first quarter and we are down and they're driving again.
Yes.
Late into the quarter.
Yes.
And then this happens.
This time they're going to pitch the ball behind him. It's fumbled. The Cougars got it. He picked it up. He's gone. No one. Cut back. He's gone. Aristotle Kirkland picks the ball up at the 10-yard line and races 90 yards for the touchdown. Touchdown Cougars. There's no flags on the field. The play will stand. The points are going on the board. The Cougars have scored with 4 minutes and 3 seconds left in the first quarter. Certainly a break for Northview. I wish I'd seen who hit him, Mike, because the Cougars put a hit on the tailback about the same time he received the pitch.
And that, hold on, let me stop it.
Man, you're talking about right place at the right time.
Well, you were. They were running that option. Bobby blew up the play.
Yep.
You were right there. Cazenave almost got the fumble, but you were standing there. You pick it up, and to me, that is the defining signature play of the Northview program over 40 plus years, because that play turned the momentum of the game.
Yeah.
It put us back at 7-all, and then we go on to score the next 3 touchdowns after that. But I want to take us to that play.
Yeah.
Seeing that, what do you recall from that play? What do you recall from that time being down 7-0 and they're inside our 15?
Yep, it was 7-0 and they were driving again. I'm going to tell you, man, inside of the defensive huddle, when I tell you, because we had some intense people there, Cassie, Willie, everybody was on everybody. We got to make a play. I mean, but you know, we're still excited now, but I tell you, I think they were on the 9-yard line, and they've been running that little option or whatever, and you know, just still following our assignments. You know, I see the run is coming our way. That tight end blocks down. I have a receiver out there, so I'm still running up to contain outside because I'm the DB on the outside. Still don't want the runner to get on the outside. And so I didn't know. I never knew who hit the guy. So you just told me Bobby Estes, and I see the ball. It bounces, and like I say, I'm coming up, and it almost bounces right into my hands. And so when I tell you a gift, it was a gift. And I see Derek Flowers also leading the train. And looking at that, I didn't know I could run that fast, actually. And so it's so funny though, Bernard, because again, remember, they had scored previously. I think, you think about this, I think the offense had gotten a 3-and-out maybe. We had never, I don't think you guys have never been a 3-and-out like that. So I think we just were not clicking at the time, offense or defense. And so we were a little tired. And so me picking up that fumble, I run it back, and as you can see, when I get to the end zone, I really didn't have enough energy to celebrate. I kind of just laid the ball down in the end zone. But when I tell you it was incredible, but you know, the whole season had been incredible. Great, many people made great plays, but that just happened to be the championship game. And so I think it totally changed the momentum of the game. It did. We got on the sideline, man. And you know, they didn't score again until I think the 4th quarter. And
Very late.
After we got back on the field, matter of fact, after that play, we came back out the next series. Everybody on the defense said no more. Yeah, it's time to shut them down. And so I don't think they scored again.
And when that's exactly right. They didn't score again on you guys until late in the game.
Right.
We then scored 3 straight times.
Right.
And put the game away. But up until that point, Aristotle, things were not going our way.
It was not going our way. It wasn't looking good at all, Bernard. I mean, it was really looking dim, as a matter of fact. But I think, again, it's still that fight to the end that we knew if we stopped them and y'all scored, that, you know, it could go our way. But I'll tell you that was a game. Listen, that was a game changer. I think I'll be remembered for that play for a long time. And even, you know, it's funny. I don't think I didn't see it until a few days later, but someone called me and said, "Hey, your name is in the USA Today." I was like, "What?" So yeah, for that fumble recovery and touchdown.
But you hit the nail on the head a second ago, Aristotle, about a lot of people making plays.
Yeah.
That was all year. That was what I think was such the beauty of the team. We may have had some more notable players on the team who were seniors or getting some looks, but everybody contributed at one point or another. Coach Mike Henry, who's with us now. Mike Henry made that big play at the end of the Robert E. Lee game to recover the fumble.
Yes.
Ran that fake very late.
Yes.
Threw a pass.
Right. I mean, think about that play at Robert E. Lee. If he doesn't get that fumble and break that up, because they could have clicked the field goal and won the game.
That's right.
Well, we would have never made it to the to the championship. So I say that happened to be the championship game, but there was so many big plays made, you know, throughout that year. It was incredible.
Well, Aristotle, you propelled after high school. You ended up coming up to Vanderbilt. Yep. Pat Fitch was in your class. Pat, of course, was ultimately ended up being the SGA president.
Right.
There were a few, I was already up there. There were a few other students from Dothan, from the city of Dothan, coming up to Vanderbilt. Yep. And you ended up coming up there, and I couldn't have been more proud.
You know, Pat, myself, and guess who else came? Julia Holman.
That's right, Julia.
Yeah. Julia came up to Vandy. And I'll tell you this, many people don't know this, Bernard. that, you know, I actually had a scholarship offer to West Point leaving high school. And, you know, it was just something about going to the military, but I had applied to Vanderbilt. I mean, yeah, to Vanderbilt. And so ended up getting a scholarship there. And what convinced me to go, Patrick and I, we all went up to a weekend there and met some fabulous people. And Vanderbilt actually kind of laid out the red carpet. And so that's what ended up, you know, me going to up to Vandy, and you know, you were there already.
Well, Aristotle, I don't know if I ever told you, but I remember getting stopped by the couple of the defensive coaches. Like, we're looking at a guy who wants to walk on. What do you think about him? I said, he's A-okay. Let's bring him on.
No, you never told me that, right? And you know, yeah, tried to walk on the Vandy again. You know, I wasn't I didn't think I was a great athlete, but a decent athlete. When I got there, you know, I still worked hard, but I tell you the truth, I didn't work as hard in college football as I had in high school. And so, you know, I focused more on my books then, but I did come out one year, that freshman year, played in that freshman game, stayed around for 1 year there. I met some great people that you're still good friends with. But I'm good friends with at Vandy, bunch of people. Matter of fact, some people you've interviewed at Vandy now. You know, Eric Jones was playing quarterback then, who was a Heisman Trophy candidate. You know, Corey Harris's, Brett Hayes, you know, just so Renford Reeves, so many people at Vandy. But you know, that was a great opportunity too, going over to Vandy.
Yeah, and that Brett and Corey have been on our show here in the last couple of months.
Right.
And we've got Eric late next month in October.
Right.
But that's one of my greatest, the things that I cherish the most. It's not about what happened on the field.
Right.
It's all the friendships. It's the memories and the continued friendships. So Aristotle, you clearly propelled yourself from Vanderbilt. I know you ended up at, I can't even believe I'm going to say it, over in Knoxville, Tennessee. You've created a very nice, an excellent profession for yourself. And I certainly applaud that. I expected no less, knowing you and your hard work. I also know you've come through some medical issues, but you seem to be doing just fabulous. But where I want to go toward our last couple of minutes is nobody has a silver spoon and they just have it handed to them their whole life.
Right.
No matter what you see on the outside from people, you don't know what their past has been. You don't know what their finances are or any family heartaches, you know, those kind of things.
Right.
And I always love to get toward this end of our discussions. And I know it's going to be particularly true with you, but I want to talk about those life lessons that you learned from playing sports in high school, from making sure that academics were a priority. You've already told us about actually paying attention in class pays off.
Right.
I'm going to turn it over to you and share. I want you to share a little bit, some things you can share with folks.
Well, I'll tell you this, Bernard. You know, earlier I was talking about life lessons in sports. You and I a little bit before we got on here. And I mean, think about this in high school. We had 4 overtime games that we came through. So never give up, you know, always fight to the end. And then, you know, I get this college to Vanderbilt. I do meet some great people, and just to be honest, lost focus. Ended up coming home back to Dothan actually for a little while, right? Because my GPA, people don't know this, and I'm not, you know, this is what I tell kids. It's not about, you know, you getting down. It's getting up, right? Watch this, picking up the ball, right? Picking up the fumble and running to the end zone with it, right? So that's a life lesson itself. Drop the ball. So what made me end up at going back to Tennessee, I came home, had to go to work for a little while, but I ended up at Troy taking some classes, okay? Ended up becoming a Howard Hughes fellow, right? Great, right? Ended up going to Tennessee to school, right? Dean's List, all that kind of thing. Left there, went and got my doctorate degree at Alabama State. But all of that came from starting to remember the life lessons of my mom. Pay attention. The life lessons of football. Don't give up. The life lessons of pick up the ball, continue to run. Okay. It's not about getting down. it's always about getting up. And so, man, it's been, like you say, tough, but at the same time, I wouldn't have it any other way. Football, I mean, even at, at Vandy, when I walked on, um, you know, I think who's the coach? Bernard, you're gonna tell me who this is. He had like a little limp. Oh, who's this?
Watson Brown was the head coach.
And we had another DB coach anyway. But when people tell you can't do something, you want to try harder. And so tried harder. But then the grades became a priority. And I tell you, everything turned around for me. And so, man, I'm just sitting here thinking about all the life lessons that, football taught me and athletics taught me.
And it's, I'm hearing it's making the most of your opportunities,
Yes.
recognizing your opportunities, just like you recognize it's very easy to draw a parallel, but you recognized an opportunity when you saw that ball.
Yeah, I did.
Capitalized on it.
And it's consistency. Like I was telling, you earlier, Bernard, I have had the, fortunate pleasure of, doing some things. We're actually with John Maxwell, and he says this, it's the 5 things you do every day on a daily basis. It's like taking a swing at a tree. If I go down and I take 5 swings every day at a tree, eventually it's gonna fall. Now, if I go out today and take 2 swings and not 5, it may never fall. And sometimes that's what we do. We may go take 2 swings instead of 5. And so it's not swinging all day, every day, but this is what I do every day. 5 things I have to do every day. Every day I read, every day I write, every day I ask questions, every day I listen, every day I take notes. So all those things, those 5 things every day, not all day, every day, but Aristotle, every day. Do you read something every day? Every day I read something. Every day I write something. Every day I listen. Every day I ask questions, right? So do those things every day. It's not all day, every day. But those things I do every day, and that's what has gotten me now to where I am, because it's daily and consistency every day. So it's not all day, every day, not perfect, but try to do those things every day.
Gosh, awesome.
Yeah.
Could not have asked. Oh, Aristotle. This conversation was even much better than I thought it was going to go. And I knew it was going to go great. So thank you, bud.
But listen, this has been great. Appreciate everybody for coming on. If anybody left any messages, I'll say hello. But CC and, the whole crew, Mike. This has been great, man. And I definitely got to start listening more to everybody. And I do go back and watch. Like I say, I've watched pretty much everybody that you've had on. And so, listen, Bernard, listen, this is honestly, thank you so much for what you do, because to be honest, the Shirley C's, the people, you're just so many people that a lot of people probably would never get to hear from again or even see their face. Like, I can't see anybody, but anybody can go back now and look at this. And this is a great thing that you're doing. Keep it up, because it allows people to connect again and share with each other. So it is absolutely phenomenal. And thank you, brother.
Well, I appreciate those kind words, but I got a little secret for you. I'm having more fun than anybody with this. This is so much fun. But guys, I know Aristotle's got to get out of here, but before we do,
yeah,
happy birthday to Shirley C. You guys make sure you give her a shout out.
Oh, yeah, man, that's great. Happy birthday, Miss C. Man, she was a great one.
She really is, and just a treasure. And guys, we've got on this Wednesday will be the new Eufaula High School principal, Revis Gertman.
Man, you got the Gert man coming up.
That's right. In the beginning of the season, they knocked off a very powerfully ranked Central of Phoenix City that has all kind of D1 commits. So we'll talk a little bit about that and a little bit about Revis's journey. But thank you guys for tuning in tonight and most Wednesdays that we do the Conversations with Cougars. And if I haven't called on you yet, I am going to find you. You guys who are out there, I want to hear your stories. We need to learn your lessons. So
thanks, Bernard, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Aristotle, you be well. And guys, have a safe rest of your Labor Day day today, and be safe out there. We'll catch you on Wednesday night with Conversations with Cougars.